Програешь буханый. Плохаю.
Modern dictionaries define a telegraph as a system for sending messages over long distances by coded signals. But the story of telegraph didn't begin with wires or electricity. Ancient civilizations relied on smoke signals, drums, reflected sunlight, and flag codes to communicate across long distances. For centuries, these methods served their purpose, but in the late 18th century, everything changed. A French engineer, Claude Chappe, built a network of towers with movable arms, a mechanical telegraph that could transmit messages across hundreds of kilometers in matter of minutes. The system became widely adopted across France, enabling rapid communication for government and military operations. While they were able to reduce communication time, mechanical telegraphs had their own limits. They required clear skies, daylight, and line of sight between towers. As communication needs grew, it became clear that a more reliable system was needed, one that could move messages beyond the constraints of visibility and geography. That shift came in the 1830s when Samuel Morse began experimenting with electricity as a means of communication. Instead of using physical signals like it happened in the mechanical telegraph, his system sent electrical pulses through wires. To make this practical, Morse developed a simple way to represent language using short and long signals, what we now know as Morse code. He created a telegraph system that worked day or night and could reach almost anywhere a wire could be laid. This innovation not only transformed communication but also laid the foundation for companies like Western Union, which would later dominate the industry and connect millions of people worldwide. In this video, we'll trace the entire electrical telegraph system, primarily the Western Union's telegraph system, which at its peak in 1929 sent over 200 million messages, all the way to its closure in 2006. Using the Adhishthana principles, we'll also explore the rise and fall of this transformative technology and uncover what it teaches us about the evolution of human communication and the patterns that continue to shape the way we connect today. The electric telegraph worked by turning language into electrical signals sent through wires. Operators used Morse code, a simple system of dots and dashes, to represent letters and numbers. These signals traveled as electrical pulses and were decoded back into text at the receiving end. Compared to the older mechanical systems, this was a massive shift. It worked day and night over long distances and didn't depend on clear weather or line of sight. The person behind this breakthrough was Samuel Morse. In 1832, while returning to the United States after studying art in Europe, Morse heard discussions about electromagnetism and the possibility of using electricity to communicate. That idea stayed with him. Over the next few years, he began experimenting with combining electricity and communication, and by 1838, he had patented the electric telegraph system. He started working on it, he started using it, and in 1844, he sent the now famous message, it's kind of a tongue twister, what had God taught, between Washington and Baltimore. That moment proved the system worked, and soon after, telegraph networks began expanding rapidly across the United States, then Europe, and eventually the rest of the world. In its early days, the telegraph industry in the US developed in an oligopolistic way. A small number of firms competed to control territory and build networks, and that created certain problems. See, the system was still new, and messages often passed through multiple operators and companies before reaching their final destination. Along the way, messages were sometimes delayed, altered, or even lost. As demand grew, companies realized that scale and cooperation mattered more than fragmented competition. This led to partnerships, mergers, and acquisitions across the industry. In 1857, 6 of the largest telegraph firms in the United States signed a treaty called Treaty of Six Nations in an attempt to divide regions and share main trunk lines, essentially trying to stabilize the industry through controlled monopolies. Out of this consolidation race, Western Union emerged as the clear winner. The company aggressively acquired local and regional telegraph businesses, building a strong and unified communication grid. By 1864, the market had narrowed down to only 3 major players: Western Union, the United States Telegraph Company, and the American Telegraph Company. And within just 2 years, Western Union absorbed the remaining competitors and gained near total control. dominating the market by having a share of over 90%. From 1867 onward, the golden era of the telegraph truly began. With a strong national network in place, the telegraph became central to business, government, and everyday life. The telegraph transformed a lot of industries. I'll give a small example of how it shaped the financial markets. In the early 1840s, prices between major commodity markets within the US could lag by as much as 4 days, creating huge arbitrage opportunities. The telegraph reduced that delay to almost zero. Prices now sank rapidly, liquidity increased, and New York emerged as a global financial center for setting prices for major commodities and other financial asset classes. Entire industries grew around the telegraph. Operators, wire manufacturers, maintenance crews, interpreters, and logistic providers. Jobs increased, businesses scaled faster, and information became a powerful economic force. But the impact of the telegraph went far beyond business. With information moving faster, news was no longer delayed. It could be transmitted in real time. This shift changed how journalism worked and how governments responded to events. Decision making became quicker, and over time, diplomacy and warfare began to adapt to this new pace. Armies could now issue commands across vast distances, and governments could react in near real time. The telegraph didn't just accelerate communication, it quietly reshaped how power was exercised. Beyond institution, the telegraph also entered personal life. People used telegrams to share births, deaths, emergencies, celebrations, and heartbreak. It connected families and loved ones across cities and continents. So, this wasn't just an American phenomenon, it spread globally. Between 1837 and 1912, the number of telegrams sent annually in just the United States grew from about 5.9 million to over 90 million. Worldwide usage peaked in 1929 with more than 200 million messages sent that year. But technological trends don't last forever. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell patented the telephone, initially calling it a talking telegraph. Bell even offered the patent to Western Union for $100,000. An offer they declined. At the time, it didn't seem revolutionary for them. But over the years, the telephone proved faster, more personal, and increasingly affordable. Although telegraph usage continued to rise in the early 20th century, structural pressure was building. The Great Depression reduced discretionary spending, and global wars disrupted economic systems. While telegraphs were still used during wartime, telephones had by then become more reliable and widespread. Gradually, the cost and convenience of sending a telegram and making a phone call became almost similar, and people naturally chose the telephone as there was a personal touch, a live connection. From that point on, the telegraph market slowly but steadily declined. By the late 20th century, telegram usage had dropped dramatically. In January 2006, Western Union officially shut down its telegram service. By then, fewer than 20,000 telegrams were being sent in an entire year. A technology that once defined global communication had quietly reached the end of its life. When we look at this journey through the lens of the Adhishthana principles, the rise and the fall of the telegraph doesn't feel random. From 1867, when Western Union gained total dominant control, to 2006, when the service ended, the entire life cycle fits in a structured progression. We map this journey across 18 distinct phases using our Adhishthana framework, analyzing both time and behavior. For those who don't know, Adhishthana Principles is a proprietary framework, a structured set of ideas that describe how systems in the universe organize, evolve, and eventually transform. These principles are universal in nature and can be applied across domains. So, if you would like to understand more about them, do read my book or follow our research commentaries at our website. Now, coming back to the telegraph industry. To understand why the decline began after 1929, we used the Adhishthana time model. Within this framework, phases 4 through 8 form what is known as a chakra, a consolidation arc, during which a system stabilizes and expands. Under normal conditions, phase 9 marks an upward breakout from this structure, triggering strong momentum. In the case of the telegraph industry, phase 4 began around 1896 and phase 8 concluded in 1931. Ideally, the system should have moved higher from that point. Instead, external shocks, most notably the Great Depression and subsequent global conflicts, disrupted the structure. Telegraph usage declined, the chakra broke down, and this triggered what we refer to as the move of pralay, a slow but irreversible loss of value. From that point onward, telegraph usage never returned to its previous highs. The decline unfolded exactly as the model anticipates. Once a chakra breaks on the downside, the system typically enters a phase of gradual decline that continues until the end of phase 13. Beyond that, phases 14 through 16 form what we describe as a Guna triad. Within the Adhishthana principles, these three phases determine whether a system still has the strength for a final recovery, what we call as a nirvana move. In the case of the telegraph industry, however, usage continued to fall throughout phases 14 to 16, roughly between 1971 and 1985. By this point, the technology had become obsolete and telephone communication was nearly 50% cheaper than sending a telegram. As a result, the conditions required for a recovery never materialized. The nirvana move did not occur, and the system slowly faded away. This is why applying Adhishthana principles across industries matters. They help identify structural shifts long before they become obvious. The telegraph didn't disappear suddenly. Its decline was embedded in the pattern decades earlier when the system failed to break out from the chakra in phase 9. Understanding these patterns allows industries to anticipate change and plan for the future in a far more informed way. And yet, beyond the models and the data, there's something more subtle at play: the way communication itself has evolved. There was a time when a single handwritten message took days, sometimes weeks, to reach its recipient. The telegraph changed that by making communication almost instant. Then the telephone arrived, making conversations more personal and immediate. The internet took it further, allowing people to connect across the world almost instantly. And with the rise of messaging apps, communication became constant, brief, and effortless. Each step brought people closer in time and distance, while quietly changing the way we relate to one another. There was a time when people took the time to write heartfelt messages, valuing the connection itself. Today, despite having more technology than ever, communication is often reduced to reactions rather than words. As technology advances towards AI and deeper understanding of human consciousness, newer systems will replace older ones. That's the natural cycle of innovation. But somewhere along the way, the human touch has begun to fade. We started the video with an excerpt from the iconic play The Forest Song by Lesia Ukrainka, the final words of Mafka, the forest spirit who slowly loses her essence. It's one of the most beautiful plays ever written and personally one of my favorites. A lot of you might be wondering why we began with this play. So we'll play that moment again, but this time I want you to listen to it through the lens of a metaphor. Plays and literature often allow many interpretations, and here we are pouring one. In the context of this video, Mafka's final monologue represents heartfelt communication itself, something which was once alive, expressive, and deeply human. But as we moved forward chasing speed, efficiency, and material progress, that essence slowly faded, much like Mafka in the story. And somewhere along that journey in making communication faster, we may have made it quieter.
О, не журися за тіло, ясним вогнем засвітилось воно, чистим, палючим, як добре вино, вільними іскрами вгору злетіло. Легкий пухкий попілець ляже, вернувшись в рідну землицю. Вкупі з водою там зростить вербицю, стане початком, тоді мій кінець. Будуть приходити люди, вбогі й багаті, веселі й сумні, радощі й тугу нестимуть мені, і їм промовляти душа моя буде. Я обізвуся до них шелестом тихим вербової гілки, голосом ніжним тонкої сопілки, смутними росами звітів моїх. Я їм тоді проспіваю все, що колись ти для мене співав, ще як на провесні тут вигравав, мрії, спираючи в гаю. Граєш